So Mozart is a very unusual composer, I think, in that even though he lived over 200 years ago, I think almost everybody alive today has some contact with Mozart, because we all know Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, which is one of his pieces. His music it's impossible not to like it. I mean, there's nothing to dislike about it. As a person as well, I think he really enjoyed life and had a wicked sense of humour. So all of that comes through in his music, as well as this extraordinary craft, this sort of very likeable human who loved life also comes through in the music. So Mozart was such an extraordinary pianist and wrote so much piano music in different forms, with piano solo, piano concertos, and lots of chamber music. And as an interpreter, it really helps to know as much of Mozart in different contexts as possible. So when Mozart wrote this piano concerto, he wrote a set of 3 in a couple of months, and he was also working on The Marriage of Figaro at the same time, so it was a really fertile period for him. What I love about his piano concertos are that they were all very different. So even though these 3 concertos were written in a fairly short span of time, this one is kind of more regal in character. The second movement is kind of the heart of the piece. It is a theme and variations, and the theme is kind of a lamenting, deeply brooding theme that has sort of broken lines and sighs and silences, and it's introduced by muted strings. It's extraordinarily beautiful. And then the piano comes in with a kind of internal musing on the theme. And there are 3 variations, and the second variation is flanked by orchestral interludes, primarily with the winds. And the second interlude is particularly just kind of a breath of fresh air in this like very lamenting movement. It's kind of this duet between the flute and the bassoon in the major key, and it's kind of like a brief sense of relief. You can kind of hear that he was working on Figaro and these opera kind of, you can feel a sense of place and a sense of conversation in it. And then it goes back to this minor darkness. And it's extraordinary. In its premiere, the audience demanded an encore performance of it straight away. They heard it and they just wanted to hear it again. So playing with the Sydney Symphony at 13 was pretty surreal. I grew up having a poster of the orchestra on my closet door, blue tacked on the inside, and to be able to play with them, I mean, it's those sorts of things you can't sort of say, oh, I wish I could play with the Sydney Symphony one day, or I wish I could go to the Olympics one day. It's one of those things. So it was extraordinary, and I've loved sort of playing with the orchestra from then in various guises since then, and getting to know them as people as well, which is fairly extraordinary. It's really amazing to be back home and to be able to play with the Sydney Symphony Orchestra again. It's a definite pinch me moment. It's really just amazing to be back in Sydney. A lot of memories from childhood come flooding back, and seeing a lot of people I haven't seen in a while, and getting to explore the country in a new way, and being back at the Sydney Opera House with its amazing renewal and being part of that experience with everybody else. I think it's rare to have an experience where everybody collectively is so excited about something, and musicians and audiences alike are just so excited about it, and it's amazing to feel part of that experience.